whatsoever. And they escaped. And Hood was as rapid as a rattlesnake on the 30th, striking out at everyone. And we're going to go where at the Thompson place where Hood slept. And then we're going to go to Ripavilla breakfast. They didn't enjoy that breakfast very well, I don't believe, as well. Yes, sir.
Is it much more wooded over this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, and it's like wooded, like we're looking at here.
Something to the effect, I'm not, I want to hear, obviously, but something lightly wooded, is what they said, lightly wooded. Some people still try to say the wagons is back there. But 5 color bears from 42nd Illinois went down. And that's just... yes. It's probably something about like that little tree line right there, but not too thick.
Hit by the woods, they hit Claiborne and initially stopped.
On Lowry's. Hit Lowry. Yeah, and then they fell back because they're getting it in the flank. Lowry's moving like this, and then pow, they fell back, and then they made that concerted effort again, straighten up, and that's where they crushed that right of Bradley's line right there. Bradley's line.
No way.
And Lowry took it in the flank. Federal artillery right along the road. I'll show you the exact spot about right through. Hold on, about right there on that pike. Yeah, on the road, yes, sir, on the Columbia pike. Columbia pike. Right there, something like about right here.
Okay, so they're actually this position.
Yes, sir.
Federal camps to the road.
The Confederate camps within 150. So they could see a lot. Yes, sir. And a good question, they're moving Granberries, he's out of the picture, Govans and Lowry's moving like this, they take it in the flank, they come back, Federals and crush the Federal right, they're running down the slopes, the swells pursuing them, the artillery opens up, the whole corps comes up, Brown, Claiborne, Bates, and where the hell is Bates? They bring them back. Cheatham's right is not supported because school's still in green, and they start to move forward. It's an important component of the scenario. As they start to move forward, Brown, Claiborne, Bate, that I failed to mention this, Brown has 2 regiments Federal on his flank. You will see those on your map. I think it is the portion of Lanes, 100th Illinois, I believe, and a portion of the 183rd Ohio. But they're a regiment and a half, really, but they're on a little high ground. It's at dusk. That's Lanes right over there. And a private soldier tells General Straw that the enemy's on our flank. Straw tells Brown. Brown tells Cheatham. Cheatham, it's important to know, moves to Hood's headquarters, and Cheatham with witnesses. Hood says, let them go into camp, let them rest, we'll get them in the morning. There's 4 witnesses to that. Cheatham was stunned, he couldn't believe it. And that's when this scenario So, waiting on the sound of Brown's guns. Some say that Brown was drunk. He wasn't drunk. Some say that they're having parties with Jesse Peters, and that's what James Wilson said. Where's Wilson for the 10th time? Franklin. Wilson's right. I know what happened. They were worshiping the Mars of gods. They've been up since 2 a.m. I don't think 11 o'clock at night anybody's dancing and partying. That's 2 to 12. That's about 21. Wilson's running his mouth, then S.D. Lee. Then it comes up here the next, on the 30th, just as this meeting is ending at Ripple Villa we're going to go to, and he seems to know everything what happened around here. And to this day, everybody seems to talk about it. But Cheatham did not get the second order from A.P. Mason to block the road because he went to sleep, and he told Chaplain Quintard that. And it was a fine man, Chaplain Quintard. You need to tell General Hood this. I don't think he told him that morning. I don't think he told him that night after Franklin. I think he told him at Traveler's Rest. That's what he told him after Hood wanted to replace him. Then he rectified. Do you know of any time in the war where a wants to replace an officer, then he wires back and says, "No, I changed my mind. Do you know of any time like that? I don't know one. Maybe it happened somewhere in the eastern side. I don't know if that ever occurred. Now, I'm not here to slam Hood. He's doing the best he can do. This is a tactical situation, got out of hand, and he should have been out here. But he didn't feel that Schofield would have the gonads, that's a nice way of saying it, to march down this pike. And he just didn't feel like that would occur. And he did. And he stayed in the saddle. And as Sam Watkins, the book company H said the next morning, the bird had flown. But they were madder than hell. Privates were mad, sergeants were mad, generals were mad, from brigadiers all the way up to commanding general. And we know anger, that can cloud your mind. You can't think quite clearly. Robert E. Lee said, a leader never makes decisions on emotions. I'm not saying Hood made decisions on emotions for Franklin. There's some opportunities in that charge of Franklin that we'll touch on, later. And I'm not saying he made decisions on emotions, but this was a mad army that morning. And as one Confederate said, they knew there was a mistake, someone was to blame. They didn't know who, but they were bound and determined to wipe the stain from their record. Bound and determined. I think the biggest mistake was leaving Stewart at that creek. That's what I think is the biggest mistake. This could have been rectified with bait, but it's leaving Stewart because it was way up into the night, probably about 8 o'clock at night or more, at least, before he aligns on Cheatham's right. And the opportunity is dissolving, disappearing. Why would Claiborne and Bate want to place themselves under arrest and let their brigadiers fight this out? I don't think Cheatham made a mistake by calling off this pursuit. Govan, though, felt that if nobody would have stopped him, they'd gone right in there. But he wanted his whole corps up. Remember the artillery there that we'll see, and Lanes is over there. He didn't want to get in that little box and be ambushed down there like that. It's the next morning. Brown asked Claiborne who was responsible. You know what Claiborne said? The commanding general the commanding general. He was informed of all the movements during the night. The commanding general was responsible. And of course, you're lonely at the top. You get the glory, you get the blame. And you can't blame anybody else. Well, after Gettysburg, after Pickett's charge, who did Robert E. Lee blame? Himself. That's the way it is. Don't matter who makes the mistake. That's why people micromanage today, because your head is on a freaking platter, and if you make a mistake, it's my ass. But you're going to come with me, by the way. It rolls downhill, and you're going to come too. You're going to come too, by the way. But it's me at the top. So a businessman told me that's the hardest thing to do. A very successful, big, hardest thing to do is not micromanage. Get good people, you let them go, do their jobs. And that's a tough thing not to do is micromanage.
So Brown never got the order to attack the machine.
Brown, it was everybody's waiting on Brown. Brown engaged, then Claiborne engaged, and then Bate engaged. And the private told General Straw, who told Brown that the Yankees are on the flank. And Brown told Cheatham, and Cheatham, they're not supposed to be there. And Cheatham runs back to Hood's headquarters. And that's the orders to let them go into camp. We'll get them in the morning. Apparently Hood thought the road was blocked. And it wasn't.
Tom, I've read that Cheatham at first told Brown just to refuse his right brigade and attack, and Brown balked again, and that's when he decided,
And there's only a regiment and a half over there, but Brown followed the chain of command, and then Cheatham went to Hood's headquarters, and that's where Hood said, let him go into camp. Let him rest, we'll get him in the morning. And he did not ride out there. Maybe he wasn't able, maybe he was exhausted. He'd been in the saddle from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m., 12 hours, and that's going to wear out a healthy man, much less with his wounds. And I'm not talking about laudanum. or anything. I'm talking about just pain.
Yeah.
And I feel, without a documented source, I feel he's in pain. Yes, sir.
So what, in distance, how long was it from the time the the federal soldiers started marching basically through the Confederate camps? How long?
They came from Columbia, which is 15 miles south of us.
I mean, right here, during that evening, as they marched with,
How long did it take him to get through?
The leading vanguard, it's about 4:30. They start going by Rippavilla. That's when Bates are firing on them. That's the vanguard. So they're coming on up. Good question. Up into the night, Johnson's division went out, or Ed Johnson went out there, but he didn't see anything. I think they're already by 11 o'clock. I think they're already by there. Now, there's still Federals in Spring Hill. They're still waiting on, because the last lead was up dikes about 3:30 in the morning. 3:30 in the morning. So how long a line is it? And I know there's gaps between each division and whatever to keep them separated. And that's an excellent question.
the southern flank is here, the left flank is over here. Here's the right Confederate flank.
Cheatham's and Stewart's.
Yeah, well, what I'm asking is how long was that distance that a Union Federal soldier would have to march this way through safety?
Oh, okay. Well, Rippavilla is about about a mile and a half that way, and then of course through this stretch into the other side of Spring Hill, we're talking about something like a good 3 miles. 3 miles, but the leading element's 4:30 p.m.
How long
the campfires within 150 to 500 yards of the road. 150 to 500 yards of the road. And the Confederates exhausted, they're sleeping, and they're big screw up. Now, Brown wasn't drunk, Hood wasn't drunk, Cheatham wasn't drunk. There's no proof or nothing about that. Yes, Brown was asked to leave a few days before from the House of Columbia because he was drinking, but that doesn't mean he was drinking there. Yes, Cheatham was spokesman for Jack Daniel's whiskey after the war, but that doesn't mean anything. He said it was the purest liquid ever touched a man's tongue. And but there's no proof of nothing of that. Nobody drinking and partying and crap. It's lack of communicating, overconfidence, and exhaustion. Hood didn't think Schofield would do this. He didn't think he'd do this, and he did. He did.
I'm amazed by
The only choice Schofield really had.
I'm amazed by the fact that the Union soldiers, the Federal soldiers could keep quiet. Because you ever listen to that and watch there's canteens.
They tied them down. They put rawhide over the wagons.
So they knew ahead of time they were going to be marching.
Well, they could see the freaking campfires. And then if some of them were captured, lighting their pipes. Schofield denied all that. Well, he wasn't there. He was already in there, and that's the direct sources or whatever. And a terrible opportunity. I mean, a great opportunity that was lost. This is the seeds for Franklin. This is all the seeds coming up for Franklin and stuff. Is everything clear? I urge you to read, come up to your own conclusions, but Cheatham, there's only one source at Franklin that ever said that there were 24 cannons on the field at Franklin for the Confederates. Even Wiley's source book says there's 12 guns. All those books before that, 12 guns. Pressman's battery. Pressman was an engineer. He never commanded a battery anywhere. Only one source said 24 guns on the field. Cheatham, there were 24 guns on the field because we documented that. And I'll touch on that when we get at Franklin. I believe Frank Cheatham. And Hood's orders were not disobeyed. And I like to say he's a good friend of mine. We don't agree on it. Yeah. And so, any other questions? Is it clear? Is it clear, folks? I know it's redundant. I've been repeating over and over again. Tomorrow there won't be a lot of tactics tomorrow, Franklin. I'm coming at you. And we're going to settle this right here, damn it.
How many troops were coming up the road? How many troops?
There were 7,000 here. That's Wagner's, whatever. Approximately. Got to remember there's 26,000 strong, at least 21,000. Something like 15, 16,000.
So 15, 16,000.
15, yeah.
They had to sneak by.
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
In Granbury, you could refuse to pay, and that would